They thought they had him cornered. Every major network, every hostile reporter, every loaded question ready to fire. But what happened next? No one saw it coming. Not the anchors, not the pundits, not even the cameramen who've covered politics for decades. Trump walked into that press room, and within minutes, the entire media establishment stood frozen, speechless, absolutely speechless. The White House press briefing room buzzed with anticipation. Rows of journalists packed shoulder to shoulder, cameras lined the back wall, laptops glowed, microphones clustered like weapons on the podium. This wasn't a normal press conference. This was an ambush. You could feel it in the air, the tension, the eagerness, the barely concealed hostility radiating from every seat. Major network correspondents whispered to each other. Smirks crossed faces. Notebooks filled with pre-written attack questions. They'd been planning this for days. Coordinating, strategizing, sharpening their verbal daggers. Today was supposed to be the day they finally broke him, the day they got him to stumble, to fumble, to lose his composure on live television. Then the door opened, footsteps, confident, steady, unhurried. Donald Trump entered the room, navy suit, red tie, that unmistakable presence that fills any space he walks into, his expression calm, focused, almost amused. He didn't rush to the podium. He took his time, surveyed the room, made eye contact with several hostile faces. A slight smile crossed his lips. He knew exactly what they were planning, and he was ready. The room fell into that peculiar silence that precedes a storm. Every reporter leaned forward, every camera lens focused, every smartphone raised. Trump adjusted the microphone, looked directly into the main camera, then scanned the room one more time. "All right," he said simply, "let's go." The battle was about to begin. But this wasn't going to end the way they expected, not even close. For weeks, the mainstream media had been circling like sharks. CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, Washington Post, all the usual suspects. They'd manufactured controversy after controversy, twisted his words, taken quotes out of context, built narratives on foundations of sand, and now they thought they had the perfect trap. Behind the scenes, producers had briefed their reporters, attack angles coordinated, questions designed not to inform but to ambush, to create sound bites, to generate viral moments of supposed Trump failures. Social media teams stood ready to clip and distribute within seconds. The narrative was pre-written. Trump melts down under pressure. Headlines already drafted. President loses control during press conference. Graphics prepared showing Trump's worst moments. This wasn't journalism. This was warfare disguised as reporting. The first reporter stood, a veteran correspondent known for hostile questioning, her expression smug, confident. She asked her loaded question, accusatory tone, false premises embedded in every word, a question designed not to seek truth but to trap. The room watched. Cameras zoomed in on Trump's face, waiting for the explosion, the angry reaction, the defensive response they could loop endlessly. But Trump didn't take the bait. Instead, he smiled, not a nervous smile, not a defensive smile, a smile that said, "I know exactly what you're doing, and I'm about to dismantle you." The reporter shifted uncomfortably. She sensed something unexpected. Trump leaned into the microphone, and what came next would be replayed millions of times, but not the way the media expected. "That's a great question," Trump began, his voice measured and controlled. Then he paused. The pause was masterful, deliberate, commanding. "But let me correct the false premise you just presented to the American people." He didn't raise his voice, didn't show anger. Instead, he did something far more devastating. He pulled facts, real facts, specific numbers, exact dates from memory, no notes, no teleprompter, no staff assistance. He systematically dismantled every false assumption embedded in her question, point by point, fact by fact, statistic by statistic. The reporter's face changed. Confidence evaporated. She tried to interrupt. "Excuse me, I'm answering your question," Trump said firmly but calmly. He continued, exposing the media narrative, revealing the actual truth. providing context they deliberately omitted from their coverage. Then he did something brilliant. He pulled out his phone. In fact, he said, I have your own network's coverage from 3 months ago that contradicts what you just said. He read the quote, verbatim, from their own reporting. The room stirred. Reporters glanced at each other, uncomfortable, exposed. He wasn't done. The next reporter stood, another hostile question, another attempted trap. Trump addressed it with the same devastating precision. Facts, context, evidence. Then he turned the question back on the reporter. Why didn't your network cover the actual story? Why did you ignore the evidence? Why did you mislead your viewers? The reporter stammered. No coherent response. One by one, Trump methodically dismantled each attack, not with anger, not with defensiveness, with overwhelming preparation, superior knowledge, unshakable confidence. He dominated that room completely. Every attack turned into an opportunity. Every hostile question became a platform to expose media dishonesty. His command of details was stunning. His recall of facts, flawless. This wasn't a politician struggling under pressure. This was a master at work. The energy in the room shifted dramatically. What began as a coordinated media assault had become something else entirely, a public dismantling of journalistic credibility. Cameras that came to capture Trump's supposed downfall now documented something completely different. Reporters who entered smug and confident now sat stunned. You could see it on their faces: shock, disbelief, growing panic. The veteran correspondent who asked the first question sat frozen, her notebook forgotten, her follow-up questions suddenly irrelevant. Behind the cameras, producers frantically messaged their on-air talent. Social media teams scrambled. This wasn't going according to plan at all. Network control rooms faced a dilemma: keep broadcasting Trump's complete dominance or cut away and face accusations of censorship. They kept the cameras rolling. They had no choice. Cutting away would only make it worse. Another reporter tried a different angle, a personal attack disguised as a question. Trump didn't flinch. You've been writing fake stories about me for years, he responded. Your credibility is gone. The American people know it. Your ratings prove it. Brutal, direct, factual. The reporter had no comeback. A ripple of whispers spread through the press corps. This wasn't just a failed ambush. This was a complete reversal. Trump had turned their own trap into his triumph. Reporters who came to attack were now defending themselves. Questions that were supposed to corner him now cornered them. The hostile atmosphere hadn't disappeared. It had been redirected. Now the media was on trial, and Trump was the prosecutor. With every answer, he presented evidence: media hypocrisy, contradictory coverage, deliberate omissions. The press corps sat in stunned silence between questions. Their ambush had failed spectacularly, and the whole world was watching. What made this performance truly remarkable wasn't just the content, it was the control, absolute, unwavering control. Trump never lost his composure, never showed frustration, never took the bait. Every response was calculated, every rebuttal precise, every counterattack strategic. This was preparation meeting opportunity. He'd studied their coverage, memorized their contradictions, documented their bias. And now he was presenting his case directly to the American people. No media filter, no edited sound bites, no manipulated context, just raw, unfiltered truth. His body language radiated confidence, shoulders back, head high, eye contact unwavering. When reporters tried to interrupt, he commanded silence with nothing more than a raised hand and steady gaze. He controlled the pace, the tone, the narrative completely. This was presidential power on full display. Not the power of office, but the power of presence, of preparation, of superior intellect and unshakable will. Several times, Trump turned questions into teaching moments, explaining directly to the camera how media manipulation works, how false narratives are constructed, how the American people are deliberately misled. He pulled back the curtain on the entire operation, and the journalists could only watch, their tricks exposed, their methods revealed. One reporter, clearly frustrated, accused him of being hostile to the press. Trump's response was devastating. I'm not hostile to the press. I'm hostile to fake news. Real journalists do great work, but you're not real journalists. You're activists pretending to be reporters. The distinction was surgical. He wasn't attacking journalism itself. He was attacking those who had corrupted it. And in that moment, he spoke for millions of Americans who felt exactly the same way. The press room understood what was happening. This wasn't just a good performance. This was a defining moment. A president completely dominating a hostile media environment, turning their weapons against them, and doing it with such skill that even his critics had to acknowledge the mastery. Just when it seemed the press conference might wind down, something unexpected happened. A reporter from a smaller outlet stood, not one of the major network correspondents, someone younger, less experienced. She asked a straightforward question, genuinely seeking information rather than setting a trap. Trump's demeanor immediately shifted. The warrior's stance relaxed. The defensive edge softened. Now, that's a good question, he said, his tone completely different. Warm, appreciative, respectful. He gave a detailed, thoughtful answer, providing information, explaining policy, offering real insight. The contrast was striking and completely intentional. Trump was demonstrating something crucial. He had no problem with honest journalism. His issue was with dishonesty. When treated fairly, he responded fairly. When attacked dishonestly, he defended himself powerfully. But here's where it got really interesting. After answering the young reporter's question thoroughly, Trump did something unexpected. He called on another mainstream reporter, one who had previously asked a hostile question. You want to try again? Trump asked with a slight smile, maybe with an honest question this time. The room tensed. The reporter, caught off guard by the direct challenge, stammered, then asked a completely different question, more straightforward, less hostile. Trump answered it directly and moved on. What had just happened? Trump had not only dominated the ambush, he'd retrained the press corps in real time, demonstrating through immediate feedback what he would and wouldn't tolerate, rewarding honest questions with detailed answers, punishing dishonest attacks with devastating rebuttals. It was psychological mastery, operant conditioning applied to a White House press room, and it was working. The questions that followed were noticeably less hostile, not because the reporters suddenly loved Trump, but because they'd learned that ambush tactics would backfire spectacularly. Trump had changed the dynamic of the entire room in real time on live television. The veteran correspondents realized what had happened. They'd been outmaneuvered completely. Outside the White House, the reaction was instantaneous. Social media exploded, but not the way the media had planned. Instead of viral clips of Trump struggling, the internet filled with videos of his dominance. Trump destroys hostile reporter. Millions of views within minutes. President dismantles media narrative, a trending worldwide. Watch Trump expose fake news in real time, shared hundreds of thousands of times. MAGA supporters were ecstatic. Watch parties that had gathered to see the press conference erupted in cheers. Comment sections flooded with reactions. This is why we elected him. Finally, someone who fights back. The media just got destroyed on live TV. But it wasn't just his base celebrating. Even independents and moderate Democrats acknowledged the performance. I don't always agree with Trump, but he absolutely dominated that room. Say what you want about his policies, but that was masterful. The media totally underestimated him. Again, cable news found itself in an awkward position. Their own footage showed Trump's complete victory, but their narratives required them to spin it differently. The cognitive dissonance was obvious. Anchors praised reporters for asking tough questions, while viewers watched those same reporters get systematically dismantled. Pundits claimed Trump was defensive, while footage showed him completely in control. The disconnect was glaring, and the audience noticed. Comment sections on news websites filled with mockery. Did we watch the same press conference? Your reporter got destroyed and you're calling it tough journalism? The gaslighting is unbelievable. Meanwhile, conservative media couldn't broadcast the clips fast enough. Full segments dedicated to analyzing Trump's technique. Body language experts marveling at his command of the room. Communication specialists breaking down his rhetorical strategies. The press conference became an instant classic, a defining moment that would be studied and referenced for years. Rally crowds began chanting about it. Trump, Trump, Trump! Merchandise appeared overnight. Make the media honest again. Trump versus fake news, undefeated. The energy was electric. This wasn't just a political victory, it was a cultural moment, a turning point in the relationship between politicians and press. Trump had proven you could fight back against media bias and win decisively. But here's what makes this even more significant. This press conference wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a larger pattern. Trump's systematic dismantling of media credibility, his relentless exposure of journalistic bias, his direct communication with the American people. And if you think this was impressive, you haven't seen anything yet, because Trump isn't done, not by a long shot. Sources close to the president indicate he's planning even more direct engagement, more press conferences, more unfiltered communication, more opportunities to expose media manipulation. The mainstream media walked into that briefing room thinking they had the upper hand. They left knowing they'd made a critical mistake. They'd underestimated him again, and they'd done it on camera in front of millions. The question now isn't whether Trump can handle media pressure. That's been definitively answered. The question is whether the media can handle Trump, because every ambush they plan becomes another opportunity for him to dominate. Every trap they set becomes their own cage. Every attack they launch gets turned back on them. And the American people are watching, taking notes, forming opinions, not based on media interpretation, but based on what they see with their own eyes. Trump's communication strategy is evolving, becoming more sophisticated, more effective, more devastating to his opponents. The traditional media gatekeepers are losing their power, and Trump is accelerating that loss deliberately, strategically, brilliantly. What we witnessed in that press room wasn't just a good day for Trump. It was a terrible day for media credibility, a credibility they'll struggle to recover. Because once the curtain is pulled back, once the manipulation is exposed, once the bias is documented on camera, there's no going back. The relationship between media and public has fundamentally changed. And Trump is the catalyst, so stay tuned. Because if this press conference taught us anything, it's that underestimating Donald Trump is a mistake his opponents keep making, and a mistake that keeps benefiting him. The next confrontation is coming. And if history is any guide, it's going to be spectacular. As the press conference concluded, Trump did something perfect. He didn't gloat, didn't spike the football, didn't mock the reporters directly. Instead, he simply smiled, that knowing smile, the one that says everything without saying anything. Thank you all very much, he said simply. Then he turned and walked away from the podium. Confident stride, head high, shoulders back, the same way he'd entered, but everything had changed. The reporters sat in stunned silence. Some scribbled notes frantically. Others stared at their laptops. A few exchanged bewildered glances. They'd come to destroy and left destroyed. The footage would be analyzed for days, discussed for weeks, referenced for years. Political science classes would study it. Communication courses would break it down. Future candidates would watch and learn. This was more than a press conference. It was a masterclass in preparation, in confidence, in command, in turning disadvantage into dominance. Trump had walked into a room full of enemies, armed with nothing but facts, confidence, and superior preparation, and he'd completely dominated them. No teleprompter, No script, no safety net, just raw ability. The kind of performance that reminds everyone why he won the presidency, why his supporters are so loyal, why his opponents are so frustrated because you can't script this, can't fake it, can't manufacture it. This is genuine strength, real leadership, authentic dominance. As Trump disappeared through the doorway, the camera lingered on the empty podium, the microphone he'd just commanded, the space he'd just owned, the room he'd just conquered. Somewhere in a campaign office, strategists were already planning the next attack, the next ambush, the next trap. And somewhere else, Trump was already preparing his next response, his next counterattack, his next triumph. Because here's what his opponents still don't understand. Every attack makes him stronger. Every ambush becomes an opportunity. Every hostile question becomes a platform. The media created their own worst enemy. By attacking him relentlessly, they forced him to become a master of media combat. By trying to destroy him, they made him unstoppable. And moments like this press conference prove it over and over again. Trump doesn't just survive media ambushes, he thrives in them, dominates them, transforms them into victories. That's not luck, that's not accident, that's skill, honed through years of combat, perfected through countless battles, demonstrated for all to see. The reporters filed out slowly, defeated, stunned, speechless. They'd come for blood and left bleeding. Their ambush failed, their narrative destroyed, their credibility shattered, all captured on camera, all broadcast live, all undeniable. This is what happens when preparation meets opportunity, when strategy meets execution. When a master faces amateurs, Trump triumphed completely, decisively, unforgettably, and the world watched, speechless.